We are Union Bank of the Philippines, the Philippines' best digital bank. In the recent Bank Quality Consumer Survey on retail banks last April, we were ranked number 2 of the most helpful banks in Asia Pacific during the COVID-19 crisis and is the only Philippine bank in the top 20 list. Because of the pandemic, it has become crucial that our products and services quickly adapt to the challenges presented in this new digital normal.
Suppose now shush. She makes the sound she makes to calm me down.
Pasig would like to thank its partners, our co-presenter, UnionBank and the UBP Accelerator Program, our organization partners, ISEC, the Ateneo Chemistry Society, Climate Change Commission Philippines, CLOOP, Greenpeace, ICLEI, Make Sense, Cyrecycling, and WeTech. Our thought leadership partners, Atma Prema Wellbeing Group, Pixera Global, Sakai, and the World Wildlife Fund. Our media partners, A Dose of Intensity, Business World, Manila Bulletin, Rappler, Sustaina Rumble, The Philippine Star, OneInManila.com, and Rank Magazine. Welcome back, Climathonians, to the last session of Climathon Pasig Camp. And yes, we've been together for the past 5 weeks. It is indeed our final session, but of course, it's not the end of our journey. It is in fact a beginning. So just to recap, in the last session, we had 2 talks from Greenpeace on renewable energy and solid waste management. And we also had an inspiring talk on finding your purpose, which is actually one of my favorite sessions. Now today, as the last day of our Climathon camp, it is a send-off as you go into the Ideathon, which is happening on October 9 to 23. Of course, before you head on to that next part of your journey, we want to equip you with what you need in crafting your ideas and solutions. So before all of that excitement, please stay tuned as we have an amazing speaker lineup ahead of us. So, to start off, to give you tips on how to pitch and present your idea clearly, we have the CEO of Workbase Philippines, a learn-to-earn job platform, and also the concurrent COO of Bridge Southeast Asia, a venture builder focused on the future of work. Everyone, let us all welcome Mr. Eric Wong.
My name is Eric and I'm the CEO of Workbase. I am the COO as well of Bridge Southeast. And in the past couple of months and years, I've been doing a number of pitches and presentations. And what I'd like to be able to do today is to be able to share what has been helpful for me, at least in recent years when I make a pitch or a presentation. There's a number of different materials and tutorials out there, books even of how to make great presentations that's available largely to the public. So what I'd like to share is something that's been helpful for me on a personal level. And it's a different way I'd like to think of thinking about pitches and presentations. To me, the pitch and the presentation is essentially the moment or the art of getting somebody to care about something that they initially did not care about. So to me, whenever I'm preparing for a pitch or a presentation, the way I think about it is I have a picture in my head, kind of like a point A to a point B. And in the middle, I draw a line where point A is why do I care so much about this thing? Whether a challenge, a problem, an idea, or a solution, to point B, where why should everybody else, or X person, or X company, or X group need to care about this in much the same way that I care about it at the moment. I think it's a helpful way of thinking about preparing for your pitch or your presentation, because oftentimes when you jump right into preparing for your pitch or presentation, often you'd like to jump straight into how do I get this person to give more of their resources or their time to me, or how do I get them to believe in the concept as much as I do, when sometimes this is not established as much. So I like to always start there. It helps me to, number one, reflect and think about why is this something that I'd like to have somebody on board with me on, and why is it something that I think everybody else, or at least this person that I'm about to speak to in a bit, also care about. And that's when I think about on a personal level, what are the things that resound to me or resonate with me when it comes to trying to tackle this particular challenge and problem. Number two, I like to care about it because I believe that I have insight specifically in terms of solving this particular challenge and problem. And it's something that everybody else, or at least this person I'm about to speak to, might not necessarily see yet. And I think it's something that would be valuable for them in the long run, if not at least immediately. And so I think that needs to be established. I think about that when I speak with my own team, whenever we're sharing ideas as well. You get to know right away when somebody is sharing or speaking about something or an idea or a solution that they'd like to recommend or suggest to the team. You realize it right away, researching on, or if it's something that just came in and popped it in their head at the moment, depending on how much time they've spent on it and how they actually communicate it. The last thing that you don't want to happen is appear like a person who just came up with the idea on the spot and did not really do the research. Secondly, as a person who's just doing this to get another person's buy-in, money, or time without actually really caring about this problem yourself. So when you establish this, what you realize is you'll be able to come up with a number of different materials that you can use later on as you draw the different steps to getting somebody to actually care about this particular thing or idea or solution that means so much to you. You now have all of the ingredients that you can later on put together essentially, and it's a matter of putting them together in the right order or process that to you makes sense, being the person who is pitching or presenting this idea. So all that to say, I'd like everybody to always start with that whenever they're preparing for a pitch, really beginning with why this is something that's important to me. Now, the rest of the journey from A to B is, to me, essentially answering the questions why, how, and what. And in a way that allows you to do this in the story telling kind of format, where you present, here's the problem, here's the challenge, here's the big monster, here's the giant that everybody is intimidated to take on. And second, here's the how, or here's the solution. Here's why I think this is going to work. Here's this guy or this girl who wants to take on this him or her to actually be able to tackle this challenge and problem in a very specific and strategic way. And the final one is really the fight. What will it take for this person to actually win over the monster or the giant? Or to me, it's the what. What are the next steps? And why should everybody else who is listening to you care about this particular thing that you're trying to pitch them? So let me move from those three things, right? Once you've established that, hey, this is a particular challenge or problem that I actually really care about, you you realize there's a lot of things that you can now use. You put that into the first stage, which is presenting what the problem is or what's the big challenge. And when you take on the problem or the challenge slide, if you had a presentation or when you're pitching this to somebody, the best thing that you can do is to share undisputable facts or information that will paint a real life picture of what the challenge is. The example that I like to think about here is in the case of, for example, Airbnb. In one of their publicly available pitch decks, the problem that they said they wanted to solve was really captured in a slide that had 3 sentences in it. It said there that the price of booking hotels and going through and traveling is increasing, and there's so many more people doing it, especially in this time, in this day and age. The second one is that hotels and available places to do that now are becoming more and more expensive. The experience is becoming more and more disconnected with the traveler. And the last one is that this is a particular opportunity that many people can take on. And so it's a really interesting slide. It's publicly available online. You can take a look at it. But the thing that I like about that particular slide, or at least in that particular pitch, is that it really painted the problem in a very specific way and without inundating the person or the listener with so many facts and figures. I think that's the thing that needs to be thought about when it comes to presenting the problem. How can I make this person understand all this information and realize that this is really a massive challenge without flooding them with all of this information that would otherwise just bore them at the end of this? It's just how do I present something that's just enough for them to get interested in finding out a potential problem or solution to this? So that's the idea with presenting the problem. When you're presenting the solution or you're presenting the hero of the story, which essentially is you, your idea, your concept, or your solution, now you move on to sharing what's the big idea, right? And to me, in my mind, the thing that's very crucial here for presenters or people pitching is to think about that 1 to 2 sentence solution. This would be your lead if you were creating, let's say, a 10-second pitch or elevator pitch. If you didn't have a way to describe the whole thing, that 1 to 2 sentence lead, as I call it, is something that's important for you to figure out. You lead with that. So in the case of, for example, Airbnb, the lead was the solution is a web platform where people can book with locals, travelers can book with locals instead of hotels. That's really it. You start with that, and then you describe the rest of the solution right away without even going necessarily to the details of your concept or your product. You now describe, here's why the solution, number one, for us, we believe works. Number two, here's why we believe it's doable. Here's what we have done so far. Here's the traction that we have observed, or here's the data that shows so and so leads to this. And our solution expedites this, accelerates this, or helps this in an exponential way. That's when you start showing that. And the more proof or traction that you can show, all the better. The third one, and I think is something that most presenters or people making pitches miss out, is sharing the who, sharing the team behind this particular solution or this particular concept. I think it's very important when you present, especially at the start, that you're not just presenting an idea, nor just the traction that you've already achieved, but that there's a whole team behind this particular endeavor. And when they see that, they realize they're not just investing in or supporting a particular individual or a concept that's floating in midair, but something that a number of people have grouped together with shared values and a shared goal, have decided they want to take on. The more that they see that this is a team of competent and committed individuals, the more likely that they're going to care later on when you get to the actual ask, when you get to the what, when you get to the what do you need right now so that you can move this forward into the next stage. So those are the three things that I would think about when you go through the solution stage. The last part is really the what. And this is really when you now you now switch the tone to saying, here's what I can do, I'm willing to do, I've actually done so far, to here's what I now want to ask from you. And this usually means either in support in the form of financial aid, support, investment, or time or energy. For example, I'd like to pick your brains to find out whether this is something that what I've found out so far can be verified with your own experience. Number two, I might be interested to find out whether this is something that you'd like to support, whether in the form of financial support or something else. Or number three, if this is something that you think you as a person could contribute to directly with what we're already doing as a team. And in my experience, most times when you've done a good job describing one and two, the challenge, the problem, and number two, your solution, the team, and the traction that you've achieved so far, it's not very difficult to get to the ask, which is, what does this mean for me now, and what is something that I can lend to your team to actually help you. If you're able to do that, I think you'd be on your way to having a successful pitch and presentation. And the next step is essentially drawing up very specific steps with the person or the group that you're pitching to, with things that they can help support you on, and the next steps after your presentation. So I hope that's been helpful. Again, the pitch is getting somebody to care about something that they didn't initially care about. And the way to do that is to present the story, presenting a massive challenge or problem that otherwise many people are backing away from. But you as an individual or as a team have some insight on, an idea to actually take on and tackle. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. That was a very, very helpful presentation. And I think, our next segment ties it up nicely. We are very, very fortunate to have our next speaker here with us, as she is a marketing veteran. She is currently leading digital marketing for UnionBank, which is one of the most innovative banks in the country today. Prior to this, she was the head of Nestle in Hong Kong, head of Nestle marketing in Hong Kong for over 7 years, and she also has deep experience in the advertising industry, working at Publicis Beijing and Manila, Lowe Worldwide, and McCann Erickson. To talk about how to market your ideas, let us all welcome Miss Christine Siapno.
Hi, I'm Tintin from Union Bank. So I'm going to share with you some tricks and tips when it comes to concept development, or I'd like to call it storytelling. So, the common misconception is that it needs to be something very serious or something that you need to think about very, focused and intensely. But actually, it's really all about telling a story. So, concepts or anything is really just like telling your friend about a product or something that you want them to do, or trying to convince your friend to do something, right? So that's all it is. But there are a couple of steps that are going to be helpful in also in telling a story, but also in trying to convince your friends. So think of your audience as something or someone that is close to you, or someone that you know. Anyway, so first, if you're going to do something or develop something, you have to think about the context. So in our case, for Union Bank, when we start developing or asking the agency, or brainstorming, there's always the context. Why am I doing this? Or why are we doing this? Is there any problem? Is there any issue? What's happening in the market, right? Or with our customers. So it's good to note it down, just to help you later on so to keep you on the right path. So you need to know the what and the why. So what is happening? Why is it happening? Uh, what is the latest finance app? Why are people using that? Why not mine? right? So it needs to answer, because later on your story or your campaign or your concept will revert back. You need to revert back to the what and the why. And like I said, if you're going to, in concept development, you need to think about what is the action that you want to your audience, your customer, your consumer, your friend to do, right? It's either to act in a certain manner, to change a behavior. So it can either be from eating meat to being a vegan. How can I convince you to do that, right? Or to switch from BPI to UnionBank, which is a very smart choice. Or to try, right? Try running a marathon versus I just want to watch a TV. To think differently, right? To think what is the polite way of saying no, right? So so you always need to think about what you want your audience to do. Very important when you're trying to convince someone. So, or maybe it's just a simple matter of you want your audience to recommend something. So you need to again take this action into consideration when you're writing a story. And the other thing that will help you convince someone about whatever action you want them to do is to find out or figure out what can be the best or the human motivation so that they will be convinced, right? Because nobody, I think, does anything without any reason, right? Or without any motivation. Yes, you will hear some people say, wala lang, but the more you dig, actually there is a reason. So, and it's not always a straightforward um, thing, right? When I used to handle Nescafes, in my past life, they would, so obviously if you think about it, maybe it's about keeping awake, right? But it's a very shallow motivation. If you dig a little bit deeper, especially when we started doing research on, let's say, farmers, so deep, and it's not just about keeping awake, but it's about keeping awake enough or early enough so I can go to the farm, so I can uh, be alert to plant, right? Or to farm, and so that I will have money so that I can send my kids to school. So it's a bigger motivation. And you see here the list. So then it is no longer about eating, it's about family, it's about honor, right? And it's about um, status later on. So you have to think about the motivation. I mean, we're all human, and whether implicitly or explicitly, you need to tell me what's in it for me, right? Whether it's a lofty cause or not. Hopefully, a lofty cause. We need to always think about how we can convince them. So, and if you don't know enough about your customer or your consumer or your audience, um, and sometimes even for myself, right, it's very difficult and costly to always have research, to commission research, right? So what you can do, and this one I find very very helpful, is when I start going into pop culture. When I used to handle a teen brand, and at the time obviously was not a teen, I used to read the young adult books. So you'll think, huh? What's the what's the connection, right? Because young adult books, the popular ones, actually show very good insights. They have very good insights into the teens. So it gave me a broader knowledge, right, and instinct about the teens. Or you can go to social media. And this, even now, I just told my boss, I think a week ago, I said, if you see any of my team, the digital team, on Facebook, Twitter, IG, we're working. Okay, so don't bother us, which is true. You can learn so much just going on Twitter, like the language and the type of storytelling that they like, especially, I think, especially or more so on Twitter, where you see people really editing things. So you have some very good editors on Twitter. Um, Also, you can look at this used to be a favorite of mine when I was still allowed to go out. Observe people, and usually when I observe people, like even in supermarket, I try to create stories around them based on. I'm a judger in the supermarket. I look at other people's baskets, and so when I look in the basket, I think, lucky me, pancit canton, may beer, my so there's beer, there's chips, there's lucky me, hardly any vegetables or fruits. My judger, my judging self will say, this guy is a single guy, living alone. And then if I look at another basket, so then I create a story. This looks like, so I look at the guy and said, guy, maybe it's a movie night, but he's by himself because it looks like it's a movie night food for one. So, and then I'll start thinking about what type of movie or what kind of movie genre is going to watch. And then I try to build a story around how the guy looks like. So whether true or not, it gives you also it's a good exercise for the brain to think about your audience, right? Or your customer or the person that you're going to be talking to. It's the same way for those who have, or, for everyone, we're looking at potential partners, right? You want to scope out what does this person like, does not like, how can I make this person like me? It's the same. And so you also create a story, a narrative about yourself and about that person, and how you can make the narrative into one narrative, right? So in the same way, I hope you guys saw our new ad that I do. You have the narrative of the app or the brand and the narrative of the guy and how they are able to work together, right? So, but I think this is for me the most exciting part of creating or making story. You have to research or get to know your main character and your audience. So this is it's very, very interesting. You should try it. I think I only made, not one only, but one of the funniest mistake I've ever done in my supermarket judging is I used to be based in Beijing, and so I was in the supermarket and I saw a cart full of instant noodles. So judging, I said, single, living alone. I should have judged harder because I'm so bad. It was a mom with 4 kids. So I said, but again, and then you try to, because also that kind of story, right? Then you try to think, maybe they have a school event, right? So you also try to see how it's going to change. Anyway, so it's a good exercise, right? Whether you're writing a story or not, it's good exercise for your brain. So the other thing, so you already have your context, the what's and the whys. You already know your customer, your audience, and what their motivations are. And so you research a little bit more so that you can use the research into convincing them about what you're trying to sell, right? Or what the action you want. The next one is whatever. So it's taking shape now. No? So the next action would be to look at where you're going to put it. And I think safe to say, there you notice even in your own social media accounts, right? There are specific reasons why you go on a specific platform, right? So let's say Facebook is almost like your mass media on digital, right? But that's also the family album type. That's where all your titas and your titos post something. YouTube, entertainment, and also educational. Instagram, it's like your Nat Geo Life magazine, right? Twitter is where you get all the memes and the funny stuff. Also, 2 sentence headlines. TikTok, again, all the kalokohan. And then Snapchat, still not very big here in the Philippines, but it's another messaging app that you can also use. So if you're going to be in any of these, your story, you need to fit within each platform. So if my story is, I am Tintin, I used to work in Beijing, but now I was convinced to go to Union Bank and now I'm selling banks. How can I say that on Facebook? Because it's different. If it's a family album, how can I say that on YouTube? How can I say that on IG, where it's mostly just a photo? Twitter, where it's just 2 sentences, right? So your story also needs to be able to um, adjust, right? So you have a long form and then you have short stories. So yeah, in a nutshell, you really need to do the drudge work, all the research, all the thinking, all the framing and the anchoring of why you want to do this, why you should do this, what is the action, who are you talking to, right? What are the motivations and what do I know about everyone so that I can convince the audience better. Where will I put it? Because I need to fit what I'm doing to that platform. So you need to do that. You need to do the drudge work. So you need to ideate. No bad ideas. For me, they used to say that it's just, post-its, right? But you can just type anything, ideate whatever, right? And then choose the ones that you think will align with what you want to say, and then start crafting your concept, right? Start crafting your story. But don't force fit your story to the why you want to do this. And then add a little bit of magic. So there is no other explanation there is no other tool, workshop that can help with magic, because the more you write, the easier the magic will come. And I'm also very sure that a lot of you have experienced this, right? You get, whether you want to call it inspiration, that spark. I like to call it magic because I cannot explain it, and I also do not know where it's coming from. But all those information, that the drudge work that you did, something will come out of it. I imagine my brain or my head like a cauldron, right? Which is cauldron. And then every time I read something, I see something, I watch something, I touch something, I hear something, it's just inside the pot. And then it's just keeps on stirring. And for some reason, when I need a little bit of magic the most, something comes out. So the more things you put there, your brains will connect it for you and give you that magic. And so if you keep on putting new ideas, new things inside your head, you will always have fresh concepts and fresh stories. So here's to magic for everyone, and good luck with your storytelling, and convince them with whatever you want them to convince. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Christine. We are very, very honored to have you. I know the time is quite within, but if you're ever available for consultations, please let us know. We would love to reach out to you. So before we reach the next part of the program, we'll give you enough time for a screen break. See you in a bit, Climathonians.
more context, clarity, and perspective, get the full picture with Rappler Plus. With exclusive content and events, you'll get an opportunity to discuss issues with reporters, experts, and featured guests while helping Rappler continue its fearless journalism. Join now.
This is the Manila Bulletin, traversing time and truth since 1900. The newspaper with a century-long legacy of standing witness to the country's history and development. Today, the Manila Bulletin strives to make the nation be fully informed, and the Manila Bulletin will continue to inform, inspire, empower, telling timely stories and timeless truths through this century and beyond.
Welcome back, Climathonians. Now for our final session before our Ideathon, we have put together this panel discussion from our Climathon Pasig coaches, who have all volunteered their time to help you to craft your ideas. So let us all listen to this power-packed conversation with your coaches, Erwin Lizarondo, Ryan Erickson Canlas, Karen Lee Hizola, Lei Sta Maria, Rina Papio, and our moderator, Carla Mumar, CEO of Scale Solutions.
Hey everyone, welcome to Climathon Pasig 2021. And this afternoon, we have our esteemed coaches for Climathon Pasig, and they will be giving you some tips and some insights to help you with your ideas and for you to be able to take climate action and implement those solutions within Pasig City. And today we have Erwin Lizarondo, Lei Sta Maria, Karen Hizola, Ryan Canlas, and Rina Papio. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making time today. How is everyone doing?
Hey, doing great. Hello.
All right. Okay, that's cool. First things first, this is the third year that we're running Climathon Pasig. And, with Lei and Rina, you were there from the very first, in 2019. Wow. And of course, we had, Erwin, Karen, and Ryan join us last year. But it feels like that you've been with us even from the very beginning. Can you tell us, how do you feel about, running Climathons and being a part as a coach and really imparting some insights and advice to the different teams? Erwin, you want to give it a go?
Actually, I've been part of the Climathon indirectly in 2019, simply because of one of your media partners was a company that I was mentoring, which is actually interesting. I actually love being part of the Climathon. I wanted to be part of the Climathon actually since 2019 when I found out about it, but I was busy with work. Partly simply because I think it's something that we really have to focus on. Climate justice, climate solutions. And I think this is a good way to actually do it because unlike other hackathons or Climathon, or for that matter, the projects here get implemented.
All right, thank you. Anyone else can go next? Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, thanks, Carla. Well, first of all, it's a really, really great opportunity to be working with these fellow coaches who are awesome in their fields. And second, it's always lovely and inspiring to hear ideas from people who come from different walks of life and who have different backgrounds. And I think one of the key things that I always try to remind people is that to understand that everything is interconnected and that each element, for every solution, each element should be able to play at least multiple roles, and each role should be backed up by multiple elements. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. So, Mr. Canlas, are you Ryan?
Yes, I always have something to say. So I really see this opportunity for mentoring and coaching Climathoners, because I always feel that we have to bring innovation at the same time, all of our ideas closer to home, meaning we only have one planet, we only have one environment, and therefore if we can innovate in across various industries, we have to innovate as well with regards to, let's say, addressing climate change, and at the same time making sure that we have our home, we get to keep our home for future generations.
Yes. Rina?
Yes, hi Carla, thank you, and hi everyone. You know what one thing about the climate or the whole idea of this ideation is that people of different backgrounds, so different minds, different personality, they all come together, and it's amazing to see how when we're all looking when we're all looking at the same goal or the same direction, then all these bright minds come together. It's inspiring, and it's like you really want you get more motivated, and then that motivation you're able to transfer it to another person. If there's anything contagious that you want, it's this, right? We want to be contagious with our passion in doing something for the environment, and we have that in this environment.
Thank you so much, Rina. And of course, Lei.
Hi, everyone. I just love how solutions driven it is, the whole thing, and how collaborative it is, and innovative, collaborative, and it's solutions driven. And that's what we need right now. It answers that question: what is needed right now? And all the solutions are there. We just have to pick, right? Or not even pick. We could choose everything and then try to practice each one in our own little ways. And that's what I love about it.
Okay. And with for all our new Climathonians now, and as you enter the Climathon camp and the Ideathon journey, like even with some of the coaches that we have here today, the backgrounds are very different. We have people from tech, we have someone who's into the social entrepreneurship space, like a driver. For that, we have someone who does a lot of advocacy in the green in the environment space. And of course, we have the yoga and the wellness, education. There's just a lot of, it's very diverse. I think that the coaches that we have here really represents, how diverse and why we really want to collaborate, because everyone's insights and advice and experiences, if we all merge them together, will really result to something impactful and something that would really help the community address the climate change. Now, hello little pussycat. There's a cat there. That's yours, right, Karen? Okay. Okay. So I think like with the different teams that will be, submitting their solutions, this year we have 3 challenges. Reduced greenhouse gas emissions, waste management, and of course, mobility. So these are 3 challenges that Pasig City really wants to focus on. And like for the teams, syempre, they will get so, nervous, even if their ideathon process is a bit longer than the last 2 years. What would be your tip? What would be something that you would like to make sure that they keep in mind when they're crafting their ideas, and they're collaborating with different people? So this is just an open discussion, so anyone can just go ahead and share. Nahiya pa, oo.
Sorry, go ahead, Lei. Okay. Thank you. One is to never be afraid to share ideas, because sometimes even what some people would consider as not so good or even dumb turn out to be some of the best.
And I guess in relation to that, be respectful of other people's ideas. So if we hear something and it's not something that you've been thinking about, or it's not aligned with what your thoughts, be respectful of others' ideas. Maybe initially it might sound like crazy or something, but as we try to get more information, get more details, yeah, sometimes it would turn out like, okay, it's a really great one.
And like all these ideas, sometimes it can get overwhelming. So as coaches, what is your strategy? When people just run to you, they message you and ask like, how do I do this? And nga, iba-ibang idea, di ba? So, syempre, definitely there's a little bit of arguments there within the team, trying to find which one to use to pitch, right? Because everyone wants to win. What is your strategy as a coach? Let's start with Lei and then Erwin.
Raising my hand. For me, go back to your intention, go back to the problem, go back to who are you helping and what's going to work best. Right now you could just pick one idea to pitch, but later on, again, you can always go back to all these ideas that you have, and then who knows when can we implement them. Baka nga later on you might have something that you can implement now on your own while you're pitching, something like that. So again, go back to the intention, go back to the problem, go back to the beneficiaries. How can we actually help and how can we sustain this? So I think that's for me. I that's how simple I can. That's how simple I can get. As simple as I can get.
Taking off from Lei, the first thing that came to mind is don't try to solve everything, because there's a tendency to actually do that. So what you actually want to do is to simplify your solution and try to solve at least one problem in the meantime to get to your MVP. But at the same time, what Lei said is also correct. Don't fall in love with your solution, fall in love with the problem and how you're going to make impact in solving that problem.
I like that. Fall in love. Okay, yes, Ryan.
Well, I guess on my end, it's echoing the same as what Erwin and Lei mentioned. No? It's all about bringing it closer to home, no? Making sure that you empathize with the people who are having the challenges, no, or having the problem at first. No? Well, I think it's ideal if we get to experience the problem we want to solve. So then at least it's really closer to our heart. No? But of course, if not, then we have to really empathize with the audience or the users who will be benefiting from the solution we're building. I think that's the first start. And then circle back on the why. That's very important. Why are you doing it? It's not about you. It's not about the brilliance of your idea. It's about having to pick that idea that will fix that specific problem that will be used by those users. No? In the end, again, it's not about us. It's about the environment, about all of us, no? But not just ourselves and our ideas. It's a collective thing. I think I always tell people, it's not a solo play. It's an orchestra. So focus on that.
Nice. It's an orchestra. So what is yes, Karen.
Sorry, I just like to add on what Ryan said. I think it's important to understand that the problem and the solution, they're always bigger than yourself and your team.
Yeah, that's a very good point because for 2019 and 2020, I think one of the big adjustments also that the teams encountered was really getting immersed in the communities. That's a whole different ball game. And I think, as coaches, what is your, input in how do you build that relationship, building relationships and building that trust in the community. And of course, with the local, barangay officials, because they will be working with them to implement a pilot program, right, for the winning teams. So anything you'd like to share about that? Let's start with Ms. Rina. Yes.
Okay. So sorry. I got sorry.
Yes, basically just like what are some of the tips maybe that you could give in with the teams, that what should they focus on when in the importance of really building that relationship, that trust with the community, and of course the local barangay units that they will be closely working with when they implement a pilot.
Yeah, as mentioned, look at the intention. What is the problem? And you go back to that. So when you're already working with a certain community, you make sure that what you're dealing with is the problem that they have on hand, because there might be a problem, but if that's not their problem, then it won't align with what they want to do with their community. So it has to align, which is also why it's important to hear out everyone's especially the ones who's on the ground, who's there actually experiencing what's happening every day, really need to listen, reach out, and find out what that is. So, and then you know that there's this problem that you want to solve, and this is what is actually happening. Align it, and then uh, put into play all your other ideas. So it's really important to have that kind of relationship with everyone involved in this problem solving activity.
Right, thank you. Anyone else want to add something before? Yes. Look at that. Para tayo na sa school. Oh.
I just want to share, like the relationship between us as human beings and the environment, it requires a very important skill called listening. So we really have to really listen to our environment, and it also comes with listening to the community. So if we are innovating for the community, we have to really listen to them. If we have to remove our I don't know, goggles and use theirs, then we do so. If we have to wear their shoes, we have to do so, because at the end of the day, we're trying to fix a problem that they are experiencing challenges with. And at the same time, of course, if we are experiencing it, we have to also feel that. But that's very important, empathy.
They also have to realize that they're outsiders to this when when they are with the community. So taking up from what Ryan said and to what Rina said, it's very important that you listen to their stories, you listen to their experiences, because those stories and experiences helps you validate what you understand about the problem or your assumptions about the problem, but at the same time helps you validate the solution you've created for them. Magagamit ba to? Is there a place where I can pivot this idea or this solution that fits to what this community is experiencing or what they're telling me? They really have to set aside everything, whether they're PhDs, MAs, their degrees, because whatever happens, you're an outsider. And what matters is their story and their experience.
I'd like to add to that, is if we have a bit more time. Actually, Erwin, that's a very, very great and important point. I do think that because I work with a lot of communities, and one of the things that I really learned is that when you enter one, always bring with you humility, because when you enter one and you walk in like you know everything, nobody's gonna work with you, nobody's gonna want to work with you. What's important is to understand also that um, as much as you own the idea and you want to share with them your solution, there's also a bigger chance that you will learn from them more than you will actually share with them. So yeah, humility is a really, really big factor.
Yeah. Thank you. Those in everyone's insights is just a lot of things that you can learn, from the coaches, and as you can see, for all our Climathonians that I'm sure pipila yung mga tao for time, with you guys. And before I wrap things up, I'd like to ask, our coaches here, because you all have your own, either your own company or you're doing, things, outside of even just the climate work that you do. What is your advice, when you talk about your advocacies or your passion? Because that's going to be seen here, for the different teams. A lot of them will be joining because they're an advocate, in protecting the planet. They're an advocate for, stating that there is a climate emergency, it's a climate crisis. How do you translate that passion to the idea? I know it's a very complex question, right? But still being able to communicate clearly to your audience, right? Number one, to the judges, right? Because they will be presenting it to the judges. And of course, the other stakeholders.
All right, let me start. For me, just be authentic, know where you are coming from, and come from there. Let your authenticity shine, and then be clear with the message that you want to get out there. So for me, that's it. Be authentic, and be clear. And then speak from your heart, backed up by what you know, with what your ideas are, and how you want to solve it. So that's it for me.
Ryan?
So what connects people are the stories we share, So when you talk to your audience, you have to focus more on using a very compelling story, that will connect them. But of course, it has to be linked with the solution. And another thing is that when you focus more on the technology, etc., you always have to make sure that you link it up with your why, because the technology or the tools that we build to address the solution are mere enablers. Without it, the campaign or the advocacy that we have should still work. So therefore, to make it work, we need to make sure that we always focus on the why, because if you're focused on your why, regardless of whatever methods you have in front of you, it will work. So, so storytelling, something compelling to connect with your audience, and at the same time, the solutions, you have to focus more on your why, rather than focusing so much on the tool set, because the tool set is a mere driver.
How about Karen?
Very simple. Keep an open mind, but make sure that it's not too open that your brains fall off.
How about Rina?
Yeah. And when you start talking, no, it's not really about you, but you have to know that you are an important part of this. So whatever you're bringing into the table, that's you, that's your value. So just make it work with everyone else.
Last but not least, Erwin.
Purpose. Always go back to that. Ryan said it very beautifully. It always goes back to why, and the why is all about purpose. And if you know why, if your why is authentic, like what Lei said, people will see it. If your why is inauthentic, people will see right through you.
Thank you. This is such a very, this is a bite size of what the participants can really gain from coaches. And for Climathon, Pasig, really, we're very specific to who we really bring in, as coaches and mentors, because aside from their expertise, they have very strong values and morals and good character. That is very important when we're doing these initiatives or these programs. And of course, this is not the last time you will hear from all of them. And definitely you will know more about them in the next couple of weeks. And even after that, I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you reached out to them, regardless if your solutions, won the 2021 Climathon. Any other solutions, definitely these people would be definitely open to still connecting and conversing with you. So Erwin, Karen, Lei, Rina, and Ryan, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for making time this afternoon. And definitely these people here in front of us or virtually with us are one of the most really trusted and core people of the Climathon coaches for Climathon Philippines. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, our dear coaches. And to everyone, that's not the end of the conversation. Our coaches will actually be available for consultation to every one of you, at least for the participants. So you have to join our Slack community if you haven't yet. Slack is the way for you to reach these coaches. It's also your way to find your teammates, to download resources, and to basically get updated on everything about Climathon Pasig. So it is very, very essential that you join our Slack community if you haven't yet. So for those registered participants, we have been sending you reminders about it. Kindly check your email for the link to join Slack. And before we close this afternoon's program, here's another rundown of important Climathon Pasig reminders.
Make sure to follow Climathon Pasig on Facebook to stay updated with our calendar of events. Mark your calendars as our camp sessions will happen every Friday of September and the first 2 weeks of October from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. On October 8, we will also have our team registrations. Our Ideathon will officially kick off on October 9 up until October 23. This is when you will meet with your teams to come up with your solutions. October 25 to 29 is our Global Climathon Week, where the pitching and announcement of winners will happen. A few more reminders. We have sent you your digital kit containing all the important information about Climathon Pasig, including what you can see on your screen. Reminding you of our criteria for judging. Are you a part of our Slack channel yet? Slack is our official participant channel for Climathon Pasig, and it contains all the resources that you need, including how to consult with coaches, how to find team members, and many more. Take a look at the free Ideathon tools available for you and your teams. Wondering how you will build your team? Here are our recommended mechanics which you can do on Slack. For your pitch video submissions, here are our instructions. Once again, connect with us on all our social media channels to stay tuned with all our activities. Good luck to you, Climathonian!
So everyone, that ends our Climathon camp. And I told you guys this is only the beginning because you're really entering the next part of your journey, which is the Ideathon. And our Ideathon this year is self-paced. It's from October 9 to 23. And from that time, you can meet with your teams, set meetings with your coaches, do consultations, do your own research, and all the other pre-work on your own time and your own pace in time for our Global Climathon Week. And if you have any questions, just check your email for the delegate kit or chat with us here on Facebook to clarify. It's been a pleasure hosting our Climathon camp. We've been together for 5 weeks, and I know that I will see you during Climathon week. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and happy weekend.